The village of Ndemu was unlike any other land. Nestled between towering baobab trees and surrounded by endless rivers, where the golden sun bathed the lush green forests and rivers whispered secrets to the wind, a village untouched by time. It was a place where tradition ruled, and every secret was eventually unearthed. The villagers lived in harmony, bound by traditions that had guided them for generations. Life in Ndemu village was simple. Hunters ventured into the forests, women wove baskets, and children played near the riverbanks, their laughter echoing through the air. But beneath the surface of their peaceful existence lurked an unspeakable horror, a secret so dark that when it surfaced, it could shook the village, that none of them saw coming. One fateful day, a stranger walked into their midst, a man whose presence was as captivating as it was unsettling. His name was Jim. Though he smiled warmly and spoke kindly, he carried with him a darkness that no one could have imagined. The villagers welcomed him with open arms, unaware that by doing so, they had invited doom into their lives. Jim was a man of striking features, tall with broad-shouldered, and piercing eyes that held a mysterious depth. His voice carried an undeniable authority, making people listen even when he spoke softly. He was generous, kind, and exuded confidence, qualities that made him instantly beloved. But there was something about him that felt off. He had no known past, no family, and when questioned about his origins, he skillfully diverted the conversation. Chilzoba, the chief's daughter, a woman of striking beauty and jewel of the village. She possessed both beauty and an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, an inquisitive mind. Unlike many young women in the village, she refused to accept life as it was handed to her. She had always dreamed of love and adventure. Her heart was pure, but her curiosity often led her to places others feared to go. When Chilzoba met Jim, she was captivated by his charm and strength, drawn to the enigma surrounding him. She saw a future filled with excitement, never suspecting that her curiosity could lead her straight into danger. Mama Lati, the village herbalist, she was a woman of wisdom and intuition. She had lived through many seasons and had seen things that others could not comprehend. Unlike the rest of the village, she never fully trusted Jim. Her old eyes saw the shadows lurking behind his charming facade, and she knew that darkness always disguised itself as light before it struck. Chief Jidenna, Chilzoba's father, was a man of honor. He upheld the traditions of his people and made every decision with the well-being of the village in mind. He loved his daughter dearly and trusted her judgment, but even he could not ignore the unease that crept into his heart whenever he looked at Jim. Jidenna, Chilzoba's younger brother, was fiercely protective of her. While others were blinded by Jim's charm, he remained skeptical. He did not have his father's wisdom or Mama Lati's intuition, but he had a gut feeling, a feeling that something about Jumbo was not right. And he was determined to uncover the truth. Elder Ndemu was the keeper of stories, the one who held the knowledge of the ancestors. He knew of curses and dark forces that had plagued the land before, and when the whispers of unease began to spread through the village, he knew that history was repeating itself. When Jim arrived in the village at dusk, his silhouette casting long shadows against the fiery sky, he moved with confidence, yet his presence was oddly quiet, like a predator slipping into a herd unnoticed. Within days, he had won the hearts of the villagers. He helped the men build huts, carried water for the elders, and shared stories that made children laugh and women swoon. Chilzoba had never met anyone like him. Unlike the men of the village, who followed strict traditions, Jim seemed free, untamed, and full of stories from lands beyond. She found herself drawn to him, eager to know more about this man who had captured the attention of everyone. It was not long before Jim asked for her hand in marriage. The village rejoiced, but Chief Jidenna hesitated. A man should not hide his past, he warned. But Chilzoba, blinded by love, pleaded with him. Against his better judgment, he agreed. As wedding preparations began, Mama Lati watched from the shadows. She had lived long enough to recognize when something unnatural lurked among them. Jim never bathed in the river like the other men. He avoided certain foods, and he disappeared into the forest at night. One evening, Jidenna decided to follow him. Jim moved with an eerie stillness, his footsteps barely disturbing the earth. Jidenna followed him deep into the forest, hiding behind thick trees. When Jim reached a clearing bathed in moonlight, he began to undress. What Jidenna saw next froze his blood. Where Jim's manhood should have been, a massive serpent coiled and slithered. Its tongue flickered, its scales glistening under the pale light. Jidenna clamped a hand over his mouth to stifle his scream. He turned and fled back to the village, his heart pounding. Jidenna burst into his father's hut, gasping for breath. "Father! Naima cannot marry that man. He is cursed." Chief Obinna frowned. "What are you saying?" Jidenna hesitated, knowing the elders would not believe him without proof. But Mama Lati listened carefully and nodded. "I have always felt something was wrong. We must act before it is too late." The chief called for Elder Zubi, who paled upon hearing Jidenna's story. "There was once a man," Zubi said, "who was punished for betraying the gods. His punishment was cruel. His manhood was turned into a snake, and he could never bear children. If he tried, his bride would die on their wedding night." Gasps filled the room. The wedding day arrived. The village was alive with music and laughter. Chilzoba, dressed in red, beamed at Jim. But before the vows could be exchanged, Chief Obinna raised a hand. "Jim, you have won my daughter's heart, but there is one test you must pass. You must bathe in the river before all of us." Jim's face turned pale. "That is unnecessary," he said. "It is tradition," the chief insisted. Sweat formed on Jim's forehead. The villagers watched in silence. He had no choice. As soon as his feet touched the water, he let out a horrifying scream. His body convulsed, and his secret was revealed. The snake sprang to life, hissing wildly. The water churned, and a deep voice echoed, "Your deception ends here." With one final, ear-piercing shriek, Jim was pulled under the river, never to be seen again. Chilzoba collapsed in shock. The villagers stood frozen. Chief Obinna held his daughter close. Mama Lati stepped forward. "This is why we must listen to the wisdom of our elders. Evil often hides behind charm." From that day on, the river where Jim vanished ochre was considered sacred river, a warning to all. No one dare step into the river. For they believed, the spirit of Jim may be waiting to enter anyone who entered the river. The moral lesson of this folktale is that we should beware of what lies beneath the surface. Evil often hides in plain sight. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more thrilling African folktales and stories filled with mystery and lessons.